you're listening.
I just don't care.
No one is ever kidding Michael Cole.
Of course he can roll a grudge forever. This is wrestling.
Welcome back to This Is a Work. My name is David Hensley. I'm the owner and creative director of Long Walk Productions, and I'm here tonight to introduce your host, Robert the Wait, which one of you guys is in charge tonight?
Well, it's definitely not me.
Well, it's obvious.
Hold on now.
It's you are.
Invite you in here
Obviously.
Yes, that is right. Everybody at home, we have got David Two Dogs Hayes appearing back here under a Legends contract on our podcast.
Obviously.
David, it is great to have you back in here. And Doggz, it's good to have you too.
Hey, you know what? It's good to be back. And I love the studio. The studio's fantastic, man. This is great.
And rounding out our group, as always, is Chris, the Fashion Plate Barnes.
Yes, and the rest. Didn't hear a lot of good to have you back, I noticed.
My co-host in Zoidberg. So we are here to talk about AEW Dynasty.
It's time to die nasty.
First time they're going for the 12 shows a year thing, and they're
going to
rolling
do
out
it,
a couple
man.
new ones. And I'm honestly off to a good start with this one. Those of you who listen to our WrestleMania opus know that one went a little long, and while there weren't quite as many matches on this card, we're going to try to keep it moving in a very swift notion. I will just mention up front, I am drinking Paulaner Hefeweizen, just a beer for this show. No particular reason. I tried it, liked it, and bought a six-pack that I drank while I watched Dynasty, and I'm enjoying now while we record.
I'm having one too, and it's great.
Yeah, we'll find out if beer makes me less mellow than the whiskey I'm usually drinking. So if I, break a chair or go through one of these recording booth walls, blame the beer.
There's an easy way to solve the hosting thing. We can just have you fight in a parking lot.
We are both holding glass bottles,
That's true.
We'll see where this escalates to. All right, so Dynasty. We are going to start it off with just the pre-show. It opens up with Trent Beretta versus Matt Sydal. Fine match, but honestly, it's really all about the fact that Trent Beretta has broken hearts, he has crushed dreams, he has left joy in a bloody, curled-up mess because he turned on Orange Cassidy and has sundered the best friends.
Can I just say, have you seen the outcome of that when he was he's talking to
The most
Chuck
recent
Taylor,
the most recent Dynamite.
Yeah.
Yes.
It just tears you up. It reminds me of when Enzo and Cass broke up way back in the day. It's just no more best friends, man.
Botchamania did the Simpsons meme of just showing the replay of when he does the running knee on Cassidy and then freeze framing on Chuck. You can pinpoint the exact second his heart rips in half.
It's wrestling does that to you.
Yes, it does. So, again, match is fine, but clearly when they were just people getting their seats, Trent goes over, submits Sydal with a triangle choke. Give it a 3. Again, good match. Most significant moment is at the end. Trent he attacks Sydal after the match. Chuck runs to the ring to chase him out, and then that's when Trent grabs a mic and sets up the segment for Dynamite, which is telling Chuck he has to choose between Trent and Cassidy. And
It was important to note Trent was still wearing all of his best friend's gear when he did it, too.
Oh, yeah, of course.
he was hoping he'd show up and it would all turn out to have been a joke.
Well,
I didn't get to
Chuck
see this
choose him.
part.
Oh, that's right. This was still the...
Yeah.
Oh, so you missed it when so after making that declaration, Trent's walking back up the ramp. Whose music should hit but Orange Cassidy? And I have never seen the man so livid, so on edge, so furious when he comes
Stormed out like a house of fire.
Oh my gosh. Like if all of Kane's pyro could be condensed into a single man's expression.
Oh my God.
That's what Cassidy was doing as he stared at him with a furiously neutral expression.
You hate, these are the moments that you hate you missed.
It's on 0 hour. I think you could probably find it on YouTube.
No, I'm okay.
If it didn't bump it up to a mature rating or demonetized or whatever they do to punish YouTube videos that
All that and more.
But not him coming out to attack Trent, just setting up the next match on the pre-show, which is Orange Cassidy and Katsuyori Shibata versus Shane Taylor Promotions. So Shane Taylor, Lee Moriarty, and Anthony Ogogo, who is back really for the first time since his feud with Cody way back in the day.
And you know, I've missed Anthony Ogogo. I kind of liked that guy. I liked the gimmick. I'm glad to see him back.
Yeah.
I wish he was. I wish he wasn't with Shane Taylor Promotions.
I've liked Shane Taylor Promotions. I like having kind of a big, like, sort of. He's kind of built like Butterbean in that way. He's got that very heavy tank-like build. And it's like, I like seeing that style. Don't really know where they're going as a faction, but
don't get me wrong. I got no beef with Shane Taylor. It's just the stable in general. It's because this was a ROH thing way back when, and it never really did anything for me then. So when it's reformed now for AEW or reformed for ROH, I guess. I'm like,
they're one of those groups that float in between.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like you need kind of your mid-card heels, like your guys for, a match like this, which, they've been feuding for a little bit, but there's not, like, Cassidy's clearly moving on to the feud with Trent Beretta and, Katsuyori Shibata. You just, you want to get that guy on your show whenever you can.
What would you give this match?
This one? Mm-hmm. I gave it 3 1/4.
3 1/4?
Yeah, again, solid warm-up. I should, I think I mentioned this a while back. My scoring system, I keep it very firmly in the 0 to 5. I don't rank above 5. I don't rank below 0. So a match that I rank under 2.5 is one that I fundamentally believe doesn't work as a wrestling match.
Well, I'll tell you, I love the fact that you put the quarters in.
Yeah, that's just how the numbers work out.
I was told...
It's the only way to feed the meter.
I was told very specifically, we hate when you do that. We hate it. We hate everything, and now we hate you because of it. So,
I wasn't sure you heard the episode where we talked about that, but yeah, we did hate that profoundly, all of us.
Yeah.
Name names. I know you know who said it.
Oh, yeah, I know all the names.
Let's see. So, 3 1/4, again, good warm-up match. Everybody gets to show their stuff. I love Shibata. I love a guy who's just like the casual badass. Mm-hmm. Like, he just does not feel the need to get especially worked up, but it's a different but a compatible energy with Orange Cassidy, and I love seeing the two of them on a team.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This seems like the only time to say this, but I found out recently ciabatta bread was invented in 1982.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Wow. We were still coming up with new kinds of bread in the 80s?
That's weird. I don't like it.
I know we sliced it in the 20th century, but...
I never got past Wonder Bread or Merita. That was it for me.
Couldn't stop wondering, huh?
No. Or Merita-ing.
That's it. I'm out of it.
All right, so 3 1/4 for that one. Orange Cassidy goes over, hits a orange punch on Lee Moriarty for the pin. So then we get a match that honestly a lot of people were kind of surprised to see on the pre-show, which is the Trios Titles Unification match.
Oh yeah, that's right.
This is the one I came in for.
AEW Trios Champions, the Acclaimed and daddy-ass Billy Gunn versus the Ring of Honor 6-man tag champs, Bullet Club Gold, Jay White with Austin and Colton Gunn.
Jesus Christ, Billy Gunn looks like $1 million, doesn't he?
It's a little unfair.
It's upsetting.
I kind of knew how this match was gonna go, solely based on the fact that he does look great, but then you also have to remember he looks great, and especially looks great for the fact that he's in his early 60s.
Yeah,
he's older than, or if he's in the same year as Sting, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know. I forget who's exactly older, but they're not more than a few months apart.
It's been my understanding that once you get into your 40s, it just becomes a 10-year thing. So it's like you could be 48, but you're just in your 40s. So somebody that's 41 and then another guy that's 48 is, we're the same age. That's just how they play it. So, and it goes on to 50s, 60s, 70s, and and then you start over at the 80s.
Yeah, I think in the 30s you're really trying to hold on to the like. No, I'm in this part of the 30s. I'm in my I'm in my upper mid 30s. Okay, I don't have those early late 30s coming at me yet.
Yeah, you're just hanging on. You're just trying to push it away. It's and it's inevitable. But Billy, man, my God,
Still hitting those famousers on guys who are not small guys, but he's getting all the way up there to bring him down.
Oh,
and his kids are great.
That man beat his kids on live TV.
Absolutely,
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a braver man than Rey Mysterio because he takes on his kids even though they outnumber him.
Poor Ray.
Yeah.
As much as we still love him, if you look back at the history with him in WWE, he has just been handed bullshit after bullshit after bullshit with his family.
We can get into this a little bit later, but there's a certain point where, like, no matter how many championships you've won in WWE, no matter how, like, established you are as a legend and a threat, if you are under a certain height and weigh less than a certain amount, you're always going to be the underdog that is just like one heel turn away from getting whipped around like a lawn dart.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's like Daniel Bryan, if he had lived the rest of his career, it would, doesn't matter how many times he's been world champion, he's always going to be like, oh my gosh, Daniel Bryan somehow getting the better of a man who's 6'4".
Right.
And I do love
That
seeing,
never happens in real life.
No.
something I love about AEW is just the credibility. Bryan Danielson, one of the most dangerous men on the planet. Do not let your guard down around him. Don't want to jump ahead, but I'm looking forward to just revisiting that match.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But on the trios match, the booking leading up to this has been weird, just kind of across the board. The Acclaimed have not defended these belts very often. It seemed as soon as they aligned with the Bullet Club Gold, we were going to, turn and unification match, but they took a long time for it to happen. They were doing a weird thing where Max Caster was breaking off like midway through his raps, and it seemed like they were indicating something, but maybe that was just legit like a brain fart. I don't know.
They've been just in the build up to this, they've been doing a lot of staring at the ceiling, even though the belts were not on the line. They had a little bit of revolt syndrome, so to speak, from back in WWE.
Yeah, it's felt weird. I'm excited to see where they're going now, but this was probably a changeover that should have happened at Revolution, if not sooner.
Yeah.
I will say, watching this, though, I'm excited for Anthony Bowens to get a singles run at some point. I don't need the Acclaim to break up necessarily, but when we get to this year's Continental Classic, I want him to be like the tag guy who goes in, and he's not going to win, or unless you never know, but it's more likely like he's going to win like 3 or 4 matches and have this amazing run before he gets eliminated. But
they may not break up, but who do you think's going through the window?
Yeah. Caster is a Genetti if I ever saw one.
Nice. That's
Gina. Somebody made the comparison of like Michael's Genetti for like successful or failure, and Gina was like, I don't know who that is, and I was like, you.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
never seen the.
Well, she's seen the clip, but I was like, the guy whose ass is hanging over the windowsill in that bit? Yeah, that's Genetti.
They
That's
used
the last
to
time
be the other guy.
He tried to jump through the plate glass window to get away from Shawn Michaels.
What an act of cowardism. But yeah, so because every time Bowens is tagged in, he's just like, he's got that energy. He's just like great hot tag, but he carries it through. Dude's a hell of an athlete. Like, I mean, he's not tall, but he's just clearly incredibly strong.
You really gotta love the Acclaim. It's I don't care where you stand on the scissor thing, but put that aside. It's one hell of a tag team, and honestly, they're right there up with FTR.
I wouldn't mind seeing them go back to the tag division. They don't need to win a belt immediately, but yeah, that seems like one of the reasons they're doing this unification is so it's like, okay, we can more firmly segment like the tag guys over there and not tie up so many teams with trios stuff.
Right.
Well, that and then like I said, is like this was a good run for them to have with Billy Gunn and give Billy Gunn his flowers, and that. But it's like you knew that couldn't happen. That couldn't go forever.
Yeah.
So it was like they had a good send off for it, and now Yeah, it's like you said, like they could go back to the tag division and concentrate on that.
So you think that's what's happening? You think Billy Gunn is looking to start to take a step back, and that was his last?
I mean, I hope so in the sense of like I understand. I also would like to keep getting paid for as long as I can.
Yeah.
I think this just sort of felt like we'd like to get gold on you one more time. Probably not going to happen again. I don't think he'll be retiring, but I doubt he's like they're gonna. He's going to be winning the international championship anytime soon.
Right. Yeah.
Man, but honestly, Jay White also got a good showing here because after some kind of shaky booking for a little while, he actually gets a nice kind of heel valor moment at the end of this because he takes a famouser and a mic drop and still kicks out, and then just out wrestles Billy to hit him with his Blade Runner. So it's like, okay, yeah, like still let him be more of a credible threat in the ring, despite the fact that they're the heels in the in this match.
Jay White is he really is an underrated performer. He doesn't get. I'm not saying he's a world title contender. I'm not saying that by a long shot, but really, he doesn't get the credit he deserves for being the wrestler that he is. The way he can see what's coming ahead, and we proved it during this match.
Well, that's been the value of AEW is the fact that it's like maybe he won't be a world champion. Who knows? But we get to see him.
Right.
So I gave this one 3 1/4. Solid. Just the storytelling building up to it was so shaky. I can't really give it higher, even though I did enjoy the match itself.
No, that's fair.
Jay White and Bullet Club Gold are your unified trios champions going forward.
Okay, so do you think that they're going to have plans to split the belts up again?
Not immediately.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I would certainly hope not.
I'm curious to see
because here's the thing. I mean, that they can just travel. They can just do stuff in ROH for a while, and then bring them back over to AEW, and just it's not something that has to be showcased every week.
No.
I kind of like the idea of the Ring of Honor belts being the trios belts being more Ring of Honor focused, and tag belts being more of an AEW thing. Like there's crossover potential, but having them sort of segmented between the two shows primarily.
Yeah.
All right, so that closes out 0 Hour, and we go into the main card, opening up with Kazuchika Okada defending the Continental Championship against the Bastard Pack.
What a way to open
this match
card, man.
Incredible. Like we're gonna gush over stuff later, but this was like you wondered why the unification match was going to close 0 and not start the show. This is why. Like the unification match was a good match, and then it led into this.
So solid. You know what it reminded me of? Remember when they would do the cruiserweights before a pay-per-view back on the pre-show for WWE, and how we just absolutely loved the pre-shows for that alone.
And Buddy Murphy just tearing it up.
And that's exactly what this reminded me of, and it was so solid.
I looked back and checked. This is the first time Pac has wrestled on an AEW pay-per-view since Full Gear back in 2022. He had some injuries. He wrestled a Ring of Honor pay-per-view last year, but otherwise it's been about 1.5 years since he actually got a match on one of these. And oh man, that dude just
lost a little bit of weight.
He is slimmed down, so he only looks like 8 times more muscular than your average adult human man.
Plus, what a way to build up the Continental title.
Yeah, totally.
I'll confess to the fact that Okada in the match where he beat Kingston to win the title, that match did not wow me. It never oh, hello, car. Eddie's journey to winning the Continental Championship had been such an incredible triumph that I was like, okay, when he loses it, that's got to feel so tragic and devastating. And it just kind of felt like a match where Okada won.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like, okay, this is going to be the time where we get to see him really cook.
Right.
And yeah. Because you've got, they're both kind of heels, but Pac is just a mean heel. He'll use a hammer, but his main thing is that he's
the guy to get behind because he's the hard scrabble guy. He's the guy you understand. He's like, I want to win. I'm going to compete. I want to win, and I'll do that by any means necessary because that's what matters to me.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like cheating because you look at him like, it would not occur to this guy to fight any other way except every way.
He's treating every match like a fight for his life, and he's going to react accordingly.
Right.
Okada's coming in
he's so cool.
He is.
He's got that energy.
He's got that swagger.
It's like, you know how like a kid is cute and they know it and they play it up. He's cool and he knows it.
Yeah.
His hair just looks like that all the time.
Yeah.
It's like the hair on a Ken doll where it's just like perfectly like fluffed to the side.
It's like the kind of guy that you kind of go, well, yeah, what a jerk, and somebody goes, you're just jealous. He's like, I am, but he's still a jerk.
I'm gonna pull a name out to what he reminds me of. Do you guys remember Austin Aries?
Yes.
Yeah.
The way his swagger was to the ring reminds me a lot of Okada. It's just very nonchalant, but he's too cool for wrestling. But I'm gonna do it because that's my job.
Well, he gets the EVP entrance too. He gets to come through the center the same way Cody used to,
right?
And then now is like exclusively for him and Matthew and Nicholas.
Yeah.
But yeah, just great match all the way through. Pac sells like nobody's business.
Oh, they both do.
He does that thing where like he takes a DDT and his entire body just turns diagonal for a second before going limp.
Yeah.
This match was intense, and then when it was over, I looked down at my phone. I was like, holy shit, it's been a half hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. It was a 21-minute match between the entrances and everything else.
And the opening of the show.
Yeah.
But it's like, I looked and I was like, holy shit.
But it flew by. Like,
it really did.
It did.
No dead space. And across the board on this match, or on this card, I would say pacing was just really great. Like, there was only one match I would say on the main card where I was just like, that really felt like it went longer than it had to. And I think you can probably guess which one that is.
Oh, 100%.
But some of the matches that went, whether they went 32 minutes, whether they went 6 minutes, I was like, yeah, that was what that needed to be. Which has not always been the case with AEW.
Right.
But yeah, so across the board, Pac ends when Pac goes for his Black Arrow move, but Okada grabs the ref's leg to pull him in the path. Pac gets down, kicks him a few times, pushes the ref away, goes up again, but this gets Okada time to get his knees up. After the counter, he grabs Pac, hits the Rainmaker, and pins him to retain the Continental title. After the match, he goes up the ramp to celebrate. Pac stays in the ring and actually gets an ovation, and he's a bastard chance, which good for him.
Almost, it felt a little strange to me because it almost felt like, is he retiring? What's going on?
No, but it was
are you
great.
going back to WWE? What are you doing?
It was great for me because the crowd was showing him love, and he looked around like he did not know how to process what was happening.
This is like anger, but no, it's still anger. Yeah, so I gave that 4 1/4. Just great opening match. These guys played off each other really well.
Solid.
Yeah, really looking forward to seeing where Okada's going in AEW. And after the card, we can talk about what they're setting up with that. All right, next up we have another 6-man tag match. No titles on the line, just a trios match between Adam Copeland, Eddie Kingston, and Mark Briscoe against the House of Black, Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews. This was fun chaos.
It was
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only really big story in here is that they're setting up, it seems like Copeland versus Malachi Black at Double or Nothing. But
that's right, because Malachi spent pretty much the whole match avoiding Adam.
Yeah, a lot of the tag ends stare him down and then immediately tag back out moments.
Yeah. I'd like to see Malachi with a belt. We haven't seen him with a belt since he got here.
No.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. They won the trios.
That's right. They did win the trios.
Yeah, they did have that for a while, but
he hasn't had a singles one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he needs a singles title.
I do hope that doesn't leave the rest of the House of Black behind, because Brody King especially is just such a great big man in the ring.
See, I think personally, when you've got the team of Brody King and Buddy Matthews, that's your speed versus your power Mm-hmm. That's a winning combo right there.
Yeah.
That's what a tag team is.
Yeah, I'd love to see the two of them take a shot at the titles down the road.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, so and then you've got Briscoe, you've got Kingston. I just love watching Mark Briscoe. Just his the redneck kung fu
they were
master.
having a ball, and so was I watching it. I mean, really, there was something just great about enjoying that.
That's the thing about AEW. It's they're you look over at the other channel, and the WWE guys they're at work. Now, that doesn't mean you can't enjoy what you do, because I know they do.
Yeah.
But these guys, it's playtime, and
this is the kind of matches like you just give me the thinnest veneer of a reason for why this is happening. Cool. Yeah, it's great. Ring the bell.
Just you get the sense there were not a lot of ideas that got shot down in the build-up to this one, especially.
No.
There's a bit. I think it's Malachi tries to bring in a chair at one point. Briscoe catches it and just sets up the chair on the apron and uses it as a stepping
Oh
stool.
my God! Yes.
Diving over the corner.
Oh man!
But it's one of those things. It's like that was cool to watch, and I'm glad it worked.
But ends up with Copeland and Malachi finally end up in the ring together. Copeland goes for the spear, but runs straight into a cloud of black mist, which leaves him helpless to avoid a black mass, and he is pinned.
With a black pen.
So I gave that 3.5. Again, good match, a lot of fun.
Why isn't he dead? The black mist is supposed to kill you.
Malachi's
that
mist
means
is,
you have to die. You leave wrestling or go to another fed.
That's Japanese black mist. His is the House of Black Mist.
Yeah, his mist is corrupting based on what we've seen.
His mist is different.
So
because it is. Shut up.
Well, I actually love that I think it was like a 6-month thing with when Julia Hart started using it. They actually, because she uses it on Sky Blue and she uses it on Willow, and both of them are like eyelinered and angsty for a little bit.
Yeah.
And Willow overpowers it with cheerfulness and goes back to being a full face, and then Sky Blue turns heel. I'm just
see, I think the black mist in that scenario was just liquid eyeliner anyway. So
it's liquid
Is it
goth.
always?
No, it comes from the bowels and the depths of your soul. That's what.
Wasn't there an angle where a lady in Japan got pregnant by black mist one time? I feel like I've seen that as like one of those infamous
it was some
spot
type
clips.
of mist, but
No, I know what you're talking about because she gave birth to Akebono. This is I forget the name of I think it was Hustle. It might have been Hustle, and I love hearing about them. I need to find a way to watch them because they basically parody like WWE type stuff.
Mm-hmm. I love that you can talk about like
And Muda was the one who missed it.
Okay, it was Muda. There it was.
yeah.
Some of the craziest, most notorious spots in American wrestling history would not be in the top 10 of what happens in Japan.
I think Hustle was also the promotion that had their own version of the Hardcore 24/7 title, where anyone who technically got the pin was a champion, which included inanimate objects, random school children, anybody.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. The 24/7 title would have.
I think the most prolific champion was a blow-up doll.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that too.
Ah, man. So, 3.5 for that one. House of Black goes over, and that sets up actually our next match nicely, where Julia Hart is defending her TBS championship against Willow Nightingale.
Is Gina still mad at me because I said something bad about Willow Nightingale?
Oh, I missed that. Repeat what you said into the microphone, please.
I don't know if I should, but I'm not a fan of the jobber that is known as Willow Nightingale. I understand she was a title contender in New Japan. Don't hit me with a bottle.
I think the real problem is Doggz can't handle cheerful and unabashed positivity.
No, I don't care for
He
it.
doesn't trust it in his life, and he
No.
doesn't trust it seeing it on other people.
Yeah.
I don't like it. No, I think they're up to something.
People should hide their joy. They should, cover it with angst and anger.
You push it down like I do, and you go to the weight room and you work out. That's how you do this.
She's a happy nihilist, though, so she's very open about the fact that her
If you
cheerfulness
feel
is pushing
yourself
something
crack
down.
a smile, you bite a finger until the feeling fades.
I bite my tongue, but whatever. Any port in a storm.
I also let's be clear on this though. Nice is different than good, to quote Sondheim. And Willow Nightingale being nice and friendly does not mean she doesn't destroy people in the ring.
Hell yeah, I saw
Look.
those power bombs.
I thought you were going in another direction, but okay.
No,
Don't worry about it. Don't
I
worry
would
about
be
it.
afraid to find out, but yeah, no. So when the bell rings on this, and she literally just takes Julie out with a boot and starts pinning her to the ground with forearms.
Yeah.
So she's coming at this pretty aggressively.
Mm-hmm.
I should mention it's a house rules match, and the stipulation that the challenger gets to select under house rules. In this case, it was both Chris Statlander and Sky Blue were barred from ringside. So Stokely Hathaway was on commentary, but nobody was allowed to be directly at ringside.
Right.
Report is that Julie's been working with an injury, I think, to her shoulder.
That's what I heard. No, here's the thing. No, I have not been watching Dynamite a lot. Is she still with the House of Black? Or
So she's with them. She'll appear
loosely affiliated?
She'll appear in some vignettes, but it's sort of like she's got her own side project going on. Like
Gotcha.
Sky Blue
Okay.
is not a member of the House of Black. She's just sort of Julia's own little sub minion.
So it's not Bon Jovi, it's John Bon Jovi.
Sure.
Is that how we're doing this?
I don't know.
Looking at
Okay.
Chris, be like, okay,
No.
if you know what he said, then I have to fake it and go along
No,
with it. But I think I-
no, we can stonewall
Okay.
this.
John Bon Jovi had his own project, but he couldn't go by Bon Jovi. He had to go by John Bon Jovi because it was a single.
No, this is like Chris Gaines to
project.
Garth Brooks.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
actually, yeah.
But no, Julia is still in the House of Black. She's been in some of their promos, but they've been kind of focusing her more on the single side while she's been defending the TBS title. She defended the title against Layla Hirsch a couple weeks ago on Rampage.
Did see that one.
And it looked like they had a kind of an accelerated go home after she landed outside the ring. So
Yeah.
It's like a spin-off show but the first show kept going, so they do occasional crossovers.
yeah, sort of a Buffy Angel situation.
Yeah, I did have to watch the replay on that one because, it's never been a secret. I'm a Layla Hirsch fan.
Oh yeah, she's awesome.
I want to see her do much better than she's been doing. I think she needs to be ranked a little bit higher in AEW.
I love that stout Ruski.
Yeah, I do too. I wish she could cut a promo, but we'll get there.
Put her in the
If
Blackpool
Mercedes
Combat Club.
Moné can come in at the top.
I've actually been saying I want a female member of the Blackpool Combat Club. Ideally, if she's healed up and comes back in time, I'd love to see Jamie Hayter doing it.
Yes.
If she's not going to be back soon, then I think Layla Hirsch would be awesome for that. And just
Yeah.
I want her and Claudia walking to the ring together, and her literally up to his hip.
I miss Jamie Hayter.
She needs to have a halter and a leash, and she just needs to be pulling on it. And he's just trying to. She needs leash kid energy.
Yeah, so this match went fairly quickly. It was 6 minutes long. You could tell Julia wasn't at 100%, but they covered it pretty well. Just Willow showed up. She was on offense for most of it. Julia got a couple of holds and went for a moonsault that she missed. And eventually Willow goes over after it's the Dr. Bombs, her gut wrench power bomb. So,
Hell yeah.
Willow Nightingale is your new TBS champion. I gave this one 3.5. And
And then Mercedes Moné came out to steal her heat for a little bit.
I was going to say, the summary I just gave was about the amount of time she had to celebrate in the ring before Mercedes' entrance hits. And she
should have just come out to the ramp and then been like, very good, and clap, 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 and then left.
Or
It's the same
she
thing.
could have stayed backstage
I know what your
and
preference
counted
is.
her money,
Her Monet?
and then we just wouldn't have had to look at her.
But the thing is, like, because she came out, she got in the ring, and they did this whole little dance and everything. But it's like this. It would have been similarly accomplished if she had come out on the ramp, done what I said, and same effect. without having her come out and prance around and just take time away from Willow's victory.
See, what I'm hoping, and I feel like it's happened 3 times now, so I feel like this has to be a deliberate choice. It is very much a passive-aggressive decision to be like, I'm not just going to show up. I'm going to overshadow you everywhere because you took the New Japan belt that should have been mine. So I am... Because they had Willow cut, I think it was a hometown promo, and she was at the top of the ramp, and Mercedes just came out. She wins the title tonight. Mercedes does a full entrance, comes out, and stares at her in the ring. And then Willow has her celebration in the ring on this most recent Dynamite. Mercedes comes out, full entrance. I think it's very much the, like, she is just raining on that parade every time, but cloaking it in the guise of, like, oh, I look forward to our respectful and, you know, and mutually
I'm not saying I don't
admiring
get it.
conflict.
I'm not saying I don't get the subtext, but I'm just saying, yeah, but you're doing it in a way that will actively hurt Willow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I say that as someone who doesn't mind Mercedes as much as some people in the room.
Yeah, that would be me.
And
I can't help it. I didn't like Sasha Banks in WWE.
Yeah.
I didn't like Mercedes Moné in New Japan.
She was pretty good in The Mandalorian.
I did like that.
So just get her a jetpack for Double or Nothing, and we're all
Sure.
good.
Yeah.
And then you can hit it, and she can fly off like Boba Fett.
She cut promos a lot better in The Mandalorian than she does in
When
AEW.
someone else wrote it for her.
It actually is really interesting in AEW to see. It's been a while since I've seen somebody who seems so stuck in kind of the WWE promo mold of just like, I am here to say a catchphrase and announce a declarative intention.
Turn page over.
And again,
I think Edge could pivot because, you know, he started in Attitude Era where they were a little more off the cuff.
yeah.
So then he went into the scripted area, but he could easily pivot back. I think it's a little more difficult for Mercedes.
Because
I feel like she's been handed promos her entire career instead of her just kind of working off the cuff.
And some people kind of need that. Some people aren't great off the cuff.
True, very true.
But I mean, I feel like the time to learn was a while ago.
Yeah, and it's like you are reportedly you're the highest paid woman in professional wrestling right now.
Workshop
so,
some stuff.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
That's just a shame.
Well, Double or Nothing's going to be where she kind of shows up. It's like, well, we'll see what she can do.
I'm gonna give it an open shot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be open minded about it, and there we go.
All right. So next,
And he will hate it accordingly.
I'm not gonna be 100% positive the entire time.
you will come into it with an open and unbiased mind and a clear and unprejudiced hatred.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so that brings us over to the next match. Roderick Strong defending the International Championship against Kyle O'Reilly. Oh, man, I'm so glad to see Kyle O'Reilly back because the way they were reporting it, there was a time where it seemed like he would never be able to wrestle again.
It wasn't looking good.
Yeah, just apparently lost like the right side of his body. It was just not something he could feel for a while.
Yeah.
And we still sad we never got to do an episode on Revolution, but yeah, sitting next to Shelby Ray Patterson and seeing Kyle O'Reilly come to the ring live, she freaked out. So, and we were all happy, but I know for her that was just such a wonderful thing to see.
Yeah.
And Kyle, as somebody said, Kyle looks like a guy who's been away dealing with serious health issues.
Yeah.
He just looks so haggard. But when they rang that bell and he was going.
I mean, solid match. I think there's other podcasters out there that gave it a much lower rating than I think you're going to.
Really?
Yeah. It was not celebrated.
What's the criticism on it?
They're calling it the popcorn match.
For what? I mean, honestly, it's like really the most important thing here was the drama in between them because of how things went down. But it's just it's still. But having missed most of that build myself because I don't have a chance to watch the weekly stuff. I still was drawn in. They did an excellent job.
I thought it was fine. I thought some of the critics were a little harsh about it. And that's coming from me. So
yeah, I did not get that at all. I see we've got two guys who have been working together for I think well over a decade at this point,
Yeah.
if not longer.
And there's also that added drama of the fact that Roderick was on TV, going on and on about, his neck and being neck strong and how he was hurting, but he was really just milking it. And then Kyle was literally off fighting for his life and his career, and he comes back, and it's like the guy who was the guy versus who was really struggling versus the guy who was just milking it for attention.
It's like that episode of The Office where like Michael burns his foot and Dwight gets a concussion.
Yeah.
And
Right.
Michael's annoyed that more people aren't worried about him. But yeah,
I thought the match itself was solid.
I go above solid. These two have like such great chemistry together. They just work off each other.
Well,
really well.
they've been working with each other for years.
Yeah, like the counters and reversals, just like, and I don't get tired of seeing Roderick Strong like break out his assortment of backbreakers because,
Right.
especially to do that with a guy who's just come back from that kind of recovery. And to their credit, they didn't do any of the full like selling spinal spots.
It's
but
so upsetting to see those backbreakers.
They look so good,
The way Kyle takes them, it's like he takes them with his legs in the air, and he's placed a little lower than he really should be. Now I know that.
But man, yeah, but
I know that Strong's got him. Like,
oh yeah, well, watching it, you can see just how well they had that down to a science in terms of placement and how they made it look so vicious.
It's that bounce. It's that reverb that comes off of it.
Oh yeah.
And Kyle's
That
another
makes
one
it-
who's a great seller. Like
he really is, yeah.
It was a thing he would do in NXT a lot, and I hope we get to see it again soon. But where he would like take a move, get back to his feet, and you could just see like his body start to shut down from the top downward, and he tried to just keep moving, but he was a puddle 3 steps later. Like it's, man. So great match. Not a lot of interference actually. Wardlow starts to come to the ring at one point, but doesn't try to sneak in, so the ref immediately just spots him and tells him to leave.
Yeah.
And Wardlow's just like, you got me. And yeah, a little bit later, Roddy gets his, I think there's a name for it, but it's like a suplex into a double knee backbreaker for the pin on Kyle. So yeah, I gave this a 4, and I would defend that pretty strongly.
Sure.
Especially in view of what's coming up next. I don't get how you call this one a popcorn match.
Oh god.
Oh
yeah.
man! Now, the next one.
Well, but real quick, I do want to emphasize one other thing, another delightful moment. Taven and Bennett show up at the top of the ramp to celebrate, and Adam Cole is wheeled out with them, still in his wheelchair, because as we were informed by Wrestling News, Adam Cole has been off TV for a while because the travel schedule was interfering with his recovery, and he really needs to just be resting now. But he made it out for the pay-per-view.
And then suddenly a gospel choir formed behind him and started dancing and singing as he stood up from his wheelchair and walked.
yeah,
Watching that a second time, I hear Taz on commentary, "It's a miracle!"
it's a
Pause.
highway up to heaven.
There's a pause, then Excalibur goes, it's actually just surgery and time. But yeah, so Adam Cole walks down to the ring, gingerly, but seems pretty comfort. Interestingly, he doesn't give O'Reilly much of a look, even though they have their Undisputed Era history together.
But he is clocking Wardlow hard.
Yeah, there was
Hard side eye.
Before he goes over to celebrate with Roderick, he just you see a pointed look at Wardlow that he immediately switches from as soon as Wardlow looks in his direction.
That's good television right there. I don't care who you are. That's good television.
My thinking with that is when Cole's back in the ring, he's going to get the angle with Wardlow that they meant to do with MJF before all that craziness happened.
Yeah.
Remember when MJF threatened to like fly out instead of working Double or Nothing? Remember
remember
when that
that.
was the big backstage drama of 2022?
It's good old days.
So next up we have Hook versus Chris Jericho in an FTW rules match for the FTW Championship.
Now-
Gonna stop you right there.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing: I don't mind cartoon/Looney Tunes bullshit, but here's a problem with the FTW Championship. It was made by Taz and ECW because he was being denied a shot at the World Championship, and he was like, "Fuck you, I don't need to be World Champion.
Yeah.
I know I'm good enough So this is the FTW, the Fuck the World Championship, because I know I'm a proper champion.
Actually, it was supposed to be Fuck the World title.
There we go.
So it was
FTWT
a play on
championship.
words there.
Right.
But it's like making a happy birthday banner. Sometimes you make the opening letters too big,
Yeah.
so we couldn't fit anything after the W.
So you
I
don't
know
just
how big
hand
letters
the
should be.
belt off
Right.
because it doesn't matter in the first place.
Well, it's also, but we talked about this the night of, that Jericho cut a promo talking about how he'd asked Tony, and Tony had agreed to give him an FTW title shot.
No, what Tony agreed to, and what should have been emphasized, is he agreed to a match. This is not a recognized championship.
No.
This is a point of pride. And yes, it's been traded back and forth between people.
Sure.
But it's not something to be recognized officially by the company, because it loses its point if it's recognized. This thing has a graphic, by the way, from when they're defending it.
Yeah.
But again, it's like it's really falling down on the whole. It's like, and I know it's like Taz is involved. It's like they're fine with, they're approving of this. And it's like whatever, it's fine. It's their belt. It's whatever. But it's just at the same time, it's just like, if I'm to believe this is if you're being like I'm better than a world champion. I'm my own person. I'm a rebel.
Yeah.
You can't officially be.
Yeah.
You can't officially
It
be.
shouldn't be
recognized.
sanctioned.
Yeah, it's
Right,
not
right.
sanctioned.
Yeah, it should be just kind of your outlaw hardcore championship. There's
Yeah.
Nobody can make you defend it except you just, if you're holding it, you have a reputation.
Yeah.
But whatever, here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the popcorn match for me because
I agree.
It wasn't a bad.
But it's not a bad match, but I'm torn because I like Hook. I like Hook probably more than I should. But
impossible.
I need him to sell better. And some of the thing he keeps forgetting that he's a little man, and you gotta do a little bounce when you're taking bumps. You gotta sell things a little bit harder, and he's still wrestling like he's 230 pounds.
Well, his issue is his offense is like his dad.
Yes.
So is his defense. Mm-hmm. And his offense is fine because it's like if you can actually do these suplexes, then that looks even more amazing because you're a skinny little dude.
Right.
On your defense, you can't tank things the way your bowling ball necklace powerhouse of a dad did.
And
I say with affection.
right. That's exactly my
That is
point.
a man who broke his neck and then drove himself to the hospital.
Right. Yeah.
And even more to the point is like also, here's the thing: when you look at Taz and Taz in the ring, I mean, you weren't really seeing a lot of smiles, but you would see grimacing, you would see anger. Hook doesn't know how to really emote facially.
No.
He's got the disaffected youth look, and I mean that's cool. But
I want somebody to pull him aside and say, "Okay, work with me for 2 hours a day, and let's not fix some things. Let's polish some stuff."
Let me ask, if you could pick one person in that locker room, like one veteran that you'd want him to pair with to learn that, who would that be?
Jerry Lynn.
he's a good choice. Funny enough, I would pick someone he's already paired with, Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy knows when to drop the disaffected emotion and actually emote.
Mm-hmm. I see. I get that, and I would go with that. I would rather have a older veteran.
No, see, that's why I was agreeing with you too. It was like Jerry Lynn's. I mean, honestly, both of them teaching him.
And the reason I say Jerry Lynn is because, first of all, he's part of that new school of wrestling, but he was right on the cusp of the old school, like we're concentrating more on story than anything else in the ring, as opposed to, okay, we're going to have a actual match, and we're not going to worry about story or angles or anything. We're just going to get it done.
Yeah.
And he was right on the cusp about it, and I think he would be perfect.
Yeah. So I think there's room for improvement. I do think Hook still looked pretty good in this match. It's still like, those are some mean-looking suplexes. Jericho is also in a problematic place.
Yeah, he is.
The issue with Jericho is that...
What do you mean? The crowd had plenty to say about him.
Fozzy sucks. What was the
Well,
other
that
one you heard?
Oh, here were the other ones. There was a "Please retire" chant.
Please go home.
There was "Go home, Jericho."
Yeah, so the thing about Jericho is that he's always been so good at reinventing himself, at like taking time away, coming
But
back.
now it's his gimmick to do it.
And he doesn't, it really is just like, hi, this is me next week. I yank off my fake mustache and now I'm different Jericho. Moving on. Yeah. And there's no time for the crowd to miss anything, so it just kind of feels flailing at this point.
Now, I got a little bit. I want to hold some court here for a second because I've been hearing online. That's kind of what I do now. As I argue with people on TikTok. That's pretty much all I do all day now.
You've got 9 months.
Yeah. But people are saying it was like, well, Jericho just he just took the FTW title just for himself, just because he won. Jericho doesn't put anybody over. Okay, look, now that's not true.
That is dumb.
I understand. He hasn't looked as good as he has in the past, and where he's kind of going through the motions here, and he's having some issues. Jericho puts everybody over.
He does.
Everybody.
Yeah. That's just a blatantly false point.
Yeah, even when he was at his best, he was putting people over.
I think the narrative's taken hold because people will look at a lot of the young stars that he feuded with, like Ricky Starks. And they'll say, like, this person kind of faded after what was supposed to be them getting their big push.
But that's not on Jericho.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
And
Not
it's
at all.
especially crazy when it's something like his feud with Takeshita, where they wrestled in AEW and in Japan, and people were like, "Oh, Jericho just made the." It's like, well, I don't think he doesn't book for AEW, and he definitely doesn't book New Japan, guys.
And see, and here's the other thing about that is if you're going to put people over, but look, if you continuously put people over, then you're going to be a jobber, and then your loss doesn't mean anything anymore.
He's got to win something, or else, like, why is this guy even allowed to show
This
up
is
here?
not the end of the feud.
Yeah, it's one of those little issues that I had mostly this week.
That's a narrative that I feel like people have kind of latched into without really putting too much analysis into it.
Stupid marks.
So,
Y'all want long-term booking, but you'll treat every match like it's the end of something.
So good enough hardcore match. Tables come out. People get thrown around. It ends with so Hook kicks out after 2 separate Judas effects, and Jericho grabs his bat and swing. So actually, no, he does the "Don't make me do this," which is kind of weird because you're sort of the heel in this.
Yeah.
Hook flips him off, and Jericho clocks him in the face with the bat, but he doesn't do the cover the end of the bat and like hit him with the back of your hand.
No, he didn't.
Full on swings, and the uncovered end of the bat hits Hook right in the jaw.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, you do not see that happen a lot.
I believe it was a gimmicked bat, plus he pulled it ever so slightly. It was a good.
Yeah.
It was, and great sell from Hook,
I was
too.
going to say, if he was going to sell once in the match.
Yeah, that was the time, and he did it.
Yeah, so I'm going to give it a 2 just because it feels unclear on where they are and where this story is meant to be coming from, even if the match itself was okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you on that.
Yeah, I'd say that's the one in this card that I was just like, I wish we'd done this on Collision, or I wish we'd just held off there, because otherwise this would be pretty damn close to a perfect card.
Right.
Anyway, on to better things.
Yeah.
Yes. We step on the gas and we do not let up. Next up, we have Timeless Tony Storm defending the AEW Women's Championship against Thunder Rosa.
Oh my God.
Oh man. And Nigel McGuinness, cultured man that he is, notices that Tony comes out with her face caked in white makeup in an homage to whatever happened to Baby Jane.
Yeah.
Because she's just making her run through the great divas of TCM.
Just, how do you not I don't care whether you pull for the faces or the heels or whatever you do. How do you not like this gimmick?
The only criticism that I think has some validity, even if I think it's overblown, is that they do have a hard time clicking the gimmick and her ring style. Because it does feel like a lot of her previous matches have been a lot more playing up the character and a lot less of like the hard-hitting style that she had before. But I think she solved that.
I think they heard you.
Yeah, and we get that this time.
I was going to say, I like that though. But yeah, to your point, they they did not do that this time.
And I think it helps that Rosa is someone where if she doesn't think you are hitting her hard enough, she will hit you harder to show you how it's done.
It got a little tense in there for a minute.
Rosa's like Eddie Kingston. If you occasionally she will get so into it, she will forget that what she is doing is supposed to be fake. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just great hard hitting match. Both women looked awesome. Rose also gets a good entrance. She has like this awesome plumed lucha mask, and she's not wearing her usual half face paint. So definitely, she's only been back I think for a couple of months now, but it's been good. I'd missed her while she was away and recovering.
And I advise anyone who goes back to watch this to also watch Tony Storm's promo on the show before.
Oh my gosh!
There were at least 4 different like mic drop lines in one promo.
I make love to my demons every night, darling.
So what do you think of that media scrum press conference that she had?
Okay, that was hilarious, and everybody who's pretending they're mad about it is just like, okay, she's not there. There is not heat between Cody Rhodes and Tony Storm.
No.
This is timeless Tony, the champion who guards her spotlight, reminding everybody that she would never, ever, ever share credit with anyone.
No.
I'm just like,
What I missed this. What did she say?
She said something to the Tony's, right there
right.
at the scrum, and she said, and Tony, I'm not going to do the voice, but she said, Tony, you're never going to have to.
well, she said specifically it was.
I don't care how many stories
There it
I
is.
finish. I'm never going to call you out to the ring and thank you.
Here's the thing about that. I think people have forgotten what banter really
Yeah.
is. It's just like no one cares.
It's just fun.
Yeah.
It is.
Goofing, we
it
should all
is-
be cool with.
And,
I
and
actually-
Tony loves Triple H.
I actually had a discussion about this with Shelby after when she took me home after the show, and it was just like, people really have forgotten the idea. Is like these shots are just for fun, or even if they're meaner than anything, it's fine.
Well, some of them are. I think
No-
some of them are more.
But here's the thing: ultimately, it doesn't matter because you never know where you're gonna be in a few years, and you're gonna be doing shots from the other side at some point.
Right.
Well,
It's
someone
just
pointed
always
out-
gonna be banter.
Yeah, Cody called Triple H out, and then 5 years earlier was smashing his symbol with a sledgehammer.
Yes. How did he enter in the AEW? He destroyed a replica of his King of Kings throne.
Yeah.
Like it's always been happening. Cody was one of the biggest people doing anti-WWE shots
Yeah.
while in
Oh, yeah.
AEW, especially if not on the shows and I'm behind the Elite. He was always doing it.
100%.
Where is he now being a company man?
Yeah.
Where is he the
yeah.
top guy?
And Tony, I mean, again, it really is just like, hey, that was a goofy bit when that happened, which is a different thing from just, screw those people who work at that other place, which is
Yeah.
occasionally the tenor you do see with these
The
things.
example I gave Shelby is like Coke and Pepsi for years have been doing ads either in print or on TV where they have just been taking shots at each other.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of when you are the two big people fighting for control. You got to remind people, it's like, hey, those guys, we're better than those guys.
Yeah.
And I'll believe it as long as the check
And,
clears.
and what we had with Tony was playful competition.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing where it's knowing because it's like, I'm saying something that those of you who watch the product also probably were thinking a little bit.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's a matter of, hey, guess what? This is if it's an in-character thing or jab to make, it's like it doesn't matter that it doesn't matter who it's to or about.
And it's not, let's be very fair. This was not a burn.
No.
This was a little.
I wouldn't have done that.
This was a poke at best.
Yeah.
The other great way to talk about it is somebody asked Moxley about the moment in WrestleMania when the
I
Shield
can't believe
music
they
hit,
did that.
and somebody was like, "Do you know people were really thinking Dean Ambrose was going to come back?" And and they were like, "Well, what did you think when you heard the music?" And he was like, "I was asleep.
Yeah.
I was in Japan on the other side of the world. I woke up and heard people had thought that, and that's cool, but."
Here's the thing. There was a very small moment when that Shield music hit. I was like, could it be?
Yeah.
There was
I thought it too.
For a millisecond before my logical brain went, hell no, it's not happening. But that's the magic of a moment like that where you want to believe.
Yeah.
Right.
But here's the thing about that. You also recover from that moment and go, well, that was just a swell moment to feel.
Yeah.
And then you move on and you don't actually ask John Moxley, would you have actually done it, or were you going to be there? It's like, no.
I don't work for them anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've moved on a little ways afield. I'm just going to mention real quick. Tony does go over in this one.
Yeah, she does.
Rosa gets her in a chokehold, and when she's
my
Tony
goodness.
tries to go for the ropes to break, she grabs the skirt around the ring, and as she gets yanked out, it comes with her. The ref tries to put it back in place, and while his back is turned, Tony punches Rosa in a rather unladylike place.
Yeah.
And then hits her with a Storm Zero for the pin. So
Weirdly, I'd argue that's the most ladylike place, but
it's a lady exclusive place to be punched. So yeah, it's I give that one a 4. Just great defense.
this is really good. It was
Great,
really good.
Yeah.
great use of the Tony character, and good to see Rosa back. We
And then
yes. Okay, here we go. Opening
Okay, before we do
another
this,
beer.
before we get into this, let's play Armchair Booker for just half a second. And could we imagine in a dream match Timeless Tony Storm versus Judgment Day Rhea Ripley?
that would be so weird to watch.
Wouldn't it?
I don't
Because
even,
you want to talk about a mesh.
So much makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but how much fun would that be?
It would be so much fun. I have no idea. I can't even think about what to expect out of that match. I know it would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. But so
Anyway, just wanted to play that for a second.
turning back to a dream match that we actually all got to watch live on television. Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson. And guys, we've all seen the criticism online. Oh, AEW doesn't do storytelling in their matches. A, that's crap. And B, the story can just be this one guy has come in and wants to prove that he's the best in the world.
Yeah.
He's going to challenge the other guy who's already called best in the world.
I've seen countless stories in other media that's all about that.
Yeah, the idea that you could not just have a story of these are two guys who are professional fighters and they want to fight to see who's better.
Right.
Like that's all you really need. Like Ospreay does not need to run over Danielson's foot with a golf cart to start this off.
I mean, it'd be funny, but
Well, he kind of got there by the end of the match, but yeah. So when we talk about like pacing in a match, because we talked about being like surprised by how quickly the Pac Okada match went by. This match was 32 minutes long, and it felt like it just went by in a breeze. It was amazing.
it's one thing
What
to,
a
to feel
match.
something just breeze by like that and still being present for every second.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the depth of my commentary on this is holy shit.
Yeah, this was the point where when we were watching it, I stopped taking notes. I was just not. I went back and I watched it again today before we recorded.
It would just
wrote a
slow you
few things down. But oh man, like
Now, they are calling this the greatest match in wrestling history. What are your thoughts on that?
that is probably hyperbole, but I would have a hard time not seeing this get brought up when that list is getting mentioned.
I disagree in principle just because there's so many factors that can make a match the greatest to somebody.
Sure.
I mean, honestly, outside of some things that are truly abysmal, there are certain matches that you would never expect to be someone's, in their minds, their greatest match they've ever seen. This is up there.
Yeah.
This is. I mean, I've said this phrase a lot, and I'll always say it. I'm not. I can't really do numbers because I have a hard time quantifying this in terms of how to rank these things. But that's near the mountaintop. That was a great match to watch. Just in terms of if I wanted to show someone the glory of pro wrestling outside of my personal taste, just like what if I wanted to show somebody. To convince somebody what makes pro wrestling great, that's a match to show them.
Right.
Because all you have to do is say these two guys, top guys, and they're trying to prove to each other and the world who's the better man.
Right. And both Ospreay and Danielson have that ability to just be so immediately watchable.
Yeah.
As right. Like you don't need to dial into a gimmick. You don't need to have a lot of backstory explained. You really can just. You watch 3 minutes of this match and you understand, okay, this one guy, he's crazy athletic, he's a high flyer, he's faster than lightning, But this other guy, he hits hard, and he can turn anything into a submission hold if you give him a second.
Yeah.
And just that's the story we're going to have for this.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah, wrestling prodigy versus practice veteran.
Yeah.
This tale as old as time.
And just so many of the moves, just the execution that you need to do this. Like the bit where Ospreay comes off the ropes for a cutter, and Danielson hits him in midair with a running knee.
Yes.
Square in the cheek.
Yeah.
Like anybody else, it would have been like aim for kind of the right side, ideally close to the head, but either way, he'll sell it. No, just nailed him perfectly.
It was
in
precise.
midair.
It looked brutal, and it was amazing.
Yeah. Fantastic match.
Yeah.
It made me wonder. I haven't been. Google took away my podcasts, so I don't
I
know.
thought it was producer David.
Well, no, the podcast that I listen to. That's. But no, I was really curious. What would Cornette think of this match?
Oh, I think he answered you.
So I thought about that and didn't care.
Oh, see, I so care.
Yeah, no,
I care way more than I should.
I'll admit to a mild interest, but at the same time, as I'm fine with never knowing.
Yeah.
Just because I always like the argument.
I would say, as with so much of Cornette, I've come to realize this guy has a different view of what good pro wrestling is than I do, which I would normally be fine with because everybody can have different opinions of what they like and what works for them.
Yeah.
But the difference is entirely one of exclusion. Cornette just has a much narrower view of what good pro wrestling can be.
Good pro
So
wrestling.
narrow.
Good pro wrestling to Cornette seems to be when the people he liked did it and when he did it.
Also that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, this, like, the crowd at one point got a "we're not worthy" chant going during this. I think it was when Danielson was getting checked out by the ref outside the ring, and Ospreay hit him with a hidden blade that must have gone like an inch from the ref's face as he went past him. But man, like, yeah,
Just an incredible match. I mean, it's almost too much to talk about.
it really is. I could just list off thing after thing after thing, and I don't want that to be.
I'm
all this
fine with just saying,
episode
go
is.
watch it. Go
Yeah.
watch it.
Really,
Everybody
it's-
should.
Now, Danielson did get injured in this match.
Are they reporting that as legit?
They seem to be, yeah.
So let's break that down for a minute.
Okay.
So we get the ending to this, which is a magnificent ending to this match. They square off, each one in a different corner. They lock eyes, and it's like an anime showdown because Danielson starts slowly raising his arms for the yes chant as Ospreay is slowly sliding the elbow pad off.
Yeah.
They face each other. They charge full speed, and Ospreay just barely gets over Danielson's knee to hit him in the face with the hidden blade. You got Danielson on the ground. He's selling. Ospreay gets him up, hits his Tiger Driver 91, drops him straight on the back of his head. We'll get back to that in a moment.
Right.
It was his shoulder.
That's the thing, is it's supposed to look
I was
like the
like,
head.
oh, yeah.
Danielson takes it correctly where all the weight's
Yeah,
on the upper
he
shoulders.
does, yeah.
Because I saw Kenny take that move, and he actually did just go on his head because he's Kenny and he doesn't care.
I'm betting what he got injured on, if he was legit injured, was not what he was selling. So.
Right.
Right.
But so, and Ospreay does sort of the fighting spirit spot after that of like psyching himself up for a moment for this finishing move. So his back is turned as the referee is checking on Danielson, who's selling the neck injury. And right as the ref turns to call the medics, that's when Ospreay charges in for the second blade. There's a great moment for Bryce Remsburg turning and not being able to do anything but just be like, no shit, right before the second hidden blade hits Danielson. So yeah, he pins him after that. He's cheering, he's celebrating, goes up on the corner, and then turns around and realizes the other guy is surrounded by doctors.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, great.
It's like, you know he's selling this because the doctors hit the ring way too quick after that match.
And one great little moment that I only caught on rewatch is Ospreay goes over and is like, what is it? What happened?
Yeah.
And you see Doc Samson actually mime like an elbow hit. Just kind of like what do you mean what happened? He
I
got
missed
hit in the
that.
back of the head.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's kind of the business is like Ospreay's like partly celebrating his win, but also seems very genuinely concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't heard.
So you don't think it's legitimate?
My only thinking is injuries don't tend to happen on the big spots. An injury happens when somebody like falls off the turnbuckle the wrong way, or like when Okada and Danielson had their match, like Danielson broke his arm on just like a diving tackle or just some really basic move. I feel like those are the moments where it's most likely to happen because you tend to be thinking about the next thing. When it's the big dramatic go home, like you're 100% focused on that.
Right.
Not saying it's impossible. I'll believe it's legitimate when I see like X-rays or something. For right now, I'm just kind of like.
I feel like we would have much more immediately known.
Yeah.
Like it would have been.
Yeah,
He also got
I
help
mean that's
to the
fair
back.
Because they don't hide that.
They don't. No.
He also got help to the back, like with his arms over people's shoulders, and not like carried out on a stretcher with a neck brace. So
Right. Well, no, it was my understanding that he had hurt his shoulder. That was the
Okay.
problem.
the shoulder maybe. Okay.
That I believe. That I would believe.
Like it wasn't a neck injury by any shade of the imagination.
Right. That is possible. I hope not.
At least
but,
that's what
yeah.
I'm understanding.
Also, not surprising, but it might be the least banged up he's come out of a match in a while.
Yeah.
And so Ospreay is kind of the two things that are like integral to his face turn right now are one, realizing that everybody in the faction he's aligned with is kind of an asshole, and two, that his super dangerous moves could actually hurt someone. And both of those he's making that work.
I like you mentioning that moment. Like he comes over, like what happened? Just like all the stuff you did to him.
He got the crap beaten out of him by a crazy Englishman. Yeah, so and apparently
Sorry, bruv.
at the scrum afterwards, Ospreay announced that he would be retiring the Tiger Driver 91 because it was too dangerous of a move.
Yeah.
Which I can see being a mix of both. Being told, like, look, there are maybe 3 or 4 guys in the company I trust to take this move safely.
Yeah.
You can't just use it on any random guy in a match.
Followed by on Dynamite, Don Callis in a segment basically saying, "Tiger Driver, everybody, do it forever, all the time."
Do it on nails. But,
I'm kind of mad you're not doing it right now to somebody.
But that was, just an incredible match. Greatest of all time, I don't know. I don't know if I'm informed enough to even make that judgment, but it is one of the greatest I've ever seen. I give this 5 easy.
I feel better.
Yeah.
As a wrestling fan, I feel better for having witnessed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't say that it's the greatest match for me either, but that's only because I just hold a special place in my heart for Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat
Sure.
in WrestleMania 3.
That's the thing.
That's just.
I think what like I said, what's going to be someone's favorite is ultimately what you want out of a match and,
Right, yeah.
and how much the people in it matter to you and that kind of thing. But it's just like even though I can't say those two guys are my favorite wrestlers, like
Sure.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but you also have to understand at WrestleMania 3, I was 11, 12 years old, so the youth has
And that's the thing
that
is-
has something to do with it too.
It's the stuff that forms us is also a big part of it.
I said before, it's like your favorite wrestling is always going to be the stuff you saw when you got hooked for the first time.
Right, exactly. So for most people growing up today, it's going to be Attitude Era stuff or not Undisputed.
Ruthless Aggression?
Thank you, Ruthless Aggression. There you go.
It's going to be interesting to see the generation where like Dynamite was what they first got into, because it's so much a company that was built for like existing fans who weren't getting what they wanted out of WWE's product.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious to see what happens for people who like literally came up and they're like, oh, this is just what wrestling can look like.
Right.
So amazing match, and there are 2 left on the card, and the poor bastards who have to follow that are the Young Bucks, EVPs Matthew and Nicholas Jackson versus FTR in a ladder match for the vacant AEW World Tag Team Championships.
Yeah.
I was so hungover from the last match
That's
emotionally.
right.
Again, went back and watched this one. It's a really good ladder match.
I have no doubt.
We hadn't passed
But
the refractory
honestly,
period yet.
After that one, I was watching it. I was paying
Yeah.
attention to it, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't care. And FTR is my team.
I know,
Yeah.
that's true. That's 100%.
And I was like, I don't give a damn about this match. It's you. Why would
It is
what
the
kind of a
downside.
sick bastard would put this on? I don't know.
I don't think anybody in WWE would ever confess to this being a deliberate thing, but I do feel like that's kind of why the house style sort of reins people in. It's like we can't have you doing the most insane stuff on this card. We got 2 more hours.
Right.
I do think, if nothing else, it was brave of them to be the match to follow.
I was going to say, I appreciate they didn't ask.
Knew.
They didn't ask
had
anybody
to have
else.
known. Yeah, they had to have known.
I honestly, I would have Ospreay and Danielson. I would have dropped it back like just before intermission, and then give them go to the bathroom, get some popcorn, and let's reset.
Yeah,
that's the way, because I mean.
Now, the thing is, you listen to this, like, again, we were watching this the first time in a room full of excited people.
Sure.
Just watching. The crowd was there. They somehow still had energy.
Crowd rallied, and God bless them.
Yeah.
But it's just great ladder match. I really love what they do is they emphasize how each team uses ladders differently. Like for the Bucks, it's mostly about like setting up flips and high spots. For FTR, it's just like, oh, this is a heavier thing we can hit you with.
Right.
Until they get desperate and the Bucks start doing more chair shots and the harder bits, and Cash Wheeler like eats a magic mushroom and starts like doing like dives through the ropes and moonsaults.
Cash Wheeler puts in a new clip and
Why didn't they put them with the guns? I mean, doesn't this write itself?
Because that's how he got in trouble in the first place.
I mean, this
can't
writes itself, right?
He can't be within 100 meters of that tag team while he's still on probation. I would love to see like that moment of him just with his arm next to Colton Gunn being like, they said I had a gun that night. It was this man right here.
Just waving Colton outside the window.
Well, it says you assaulted 8 people with him. Yes, but that's not the...
Someone on Twitter called
He
him.
gave them famoussers. It was.
Someone on Twitter called him FT armed, and I just lost it.
FTR bald and FT armed. Speaking of which, Dax, I don't know if this may have been kayfabe, maybe not. He blades during this match. And he got something deep because
he couldn't resist.
He was like spattering. Every time he got hit, there was like a spray on a different part of the ring.
Something about those bald men when they juice, man. It's everywhere. You got to get a mop.
But it felt like he was actually selling blood loss as the match went on. Like
that's the
way you're supposed to do it.
Because he stopped doing stuff.
Yeah, like he was just like losing his balance a little bit, like lying on the apron, like not sure when the room would stop spinning.
It's one of the things that I miss about the blade job is that you either you're losing and you're moving a little bit slower, or you frenzy. And
well, that's because the frenzy comes from your blood level, your blood sugar dropping from losing blood. Right. You're just because as someone who has to monitor their blood sugar, like if it drops too much, you start getting shaky.
Oh yeah.
But no, really fun match. Just to rewatch. Only really suffered because of what it was after. But
I do feel bad for Dax because he couldn't. I'm sure he would have loved if he had just been able to blade it right and get the crimson mask proper. He bled a lot, but it's just like
it was just everywhere.
It was.
So we get to the end of this match with Dax Harwood and Matthew Jackson trading shots at the top of the ladder.
And no one else.
The crowd is chanting, "Please be careful." Yeah, no. Cash.
They really were. They were genuinely concerned.
Well, Cash Harwood is nearly dead because he goes for like a suicide dive through the ropes. Nicholas moves, and Cash hits the barricade like a cannonball.
I think the crowd might have been genuinely concerned that they were trying to match the intensity of the previous matches. Like, guys, you don't know. It's okay. We still like you.
But so Dax eventually gets the better of Matthew, knocks him off, but then a hooded and masked figure emerges from the crowd.
Was it MJF?
Who could it be?
It wasn't a devil mask. It was a Sting mask because they didn't somehow sell
It was
out
Sting?
all of those.
Oh my God.
He's unretired. He never coming back for the title he never lost. No, and in a very rare thing, a guy runs into the ring and security intervenes.
Say what?
Yeah, these two beefy security men wrestle this guy after he shoves the ladder over and takes out Dax, yank off the hood, and they go ahead and take off the mask, but they don't really need to because as soon as you see that lustrous mane of chestnut curls, we know we are looking at Jack Perry.
It's Sideshow Jack Perry.
The scapegoat with a $1 million smug smile.
Yeah.
And the crowd gives an enormous pop
The
for
smile that
this.
says, and I helped.
I'd do it all again.
So can I go on a little tirade for a second?
I'm sorry, there's no time.
We will be monitoring, and it will be cut off the second it verges into the territory of a medium tirade.
So I've been a fan of Jungle Boy for a while.
Who's that?
He got buried out in the desert about a year back.
We're not going to get into it again. Let's just go with not a fan of the scapegoat. It is what it is. And then last night happened, and I'm back on the scapegoat bandwagon.
Yeah. So
it takes very, very little.
This is not surprising.
Yeah.
This is,
for me to switch. It's
For those who didn't watch Dynamite, not only is Jack Perry aligned with the Elite, he took out Tony Khan with a very vicious punch to the stomach, and then the Young Bucks delivered a Tony Khan driver to him.
no, literally, that's what the move was called.
In his
TK
honor.
driver.
Made it just for him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Elite are now basically fighting back for control of their company,
And Tony's
it seems
keeping
like.
kayfabe. He's got the neck brace on.
Yeah.
His appearance at the
He-
draft is questionable.
I was talking to Robert on the way up here. It's like he's got to be over the moon because he's finally at a point where he's selling stuff for the show.
Yeah, I
It's,
think
for the first time in a very long time, I'm kind of back on the Bucks wagon.
I think this gimmick has been good for them. I, like most people, did not think that showing the all-in footage helped, but
No,
if
not
they
at all.
move, I'm gonna say, first off, establishing his story and like this is what this guy is upset
Mm-hmm.
about, and then moving forward and never mentioning the name of anybody else who was on that.
Yeah.
Just make it about him being like, I got treated like crap
Mm-hmm.
because I got attacked, and then move forward with that.
And I think that's the way it's going. I feel
Yeah.
pretty good about that.
I'm good with it right now.
Yeah.
As long as we don't ever bring it up again, then let's move on because you got momentum now.
Yep.
Watching the footage gave you what was it, a 30% bump? Is that what it was
Something
in the
like
ratings?
that. Yeah, they got what they needed there.
And they held it, which I didn't think they would. I really didn't. I thought it was going to drop, but they held it. And honestly, I can't wait to see what's going on. I
Yeah.
want to see next week.
So Matthew Jackson retrieves the belts, and the Young Bucks are your 3-time AEW Tag Team Champions.
Indeed.
So now both they and Kazuchika Okada are holding gold in the Elite. I gave it 4 1/4.
What's Okada doing out there? During that whole thing?
With Tony?
Yeah.
He's just sort of egging them on, like doing the, I think, is
His
it the
best.
Scott Hall point?
Is he elite?
He is.
He is?
Yeah, that's basically
They, they fired Kenny and they brought Okada in. Was there?
Okay, see, I missed that
Yeah.
part. Okay.
And they suspended Hangman indefinitely.
Yeah. Well, they did beat
They
a
did.
ref into the ground with forearms. Yeah. So
There's a lot of ways to administer the suspension.
fun match only suffered because the crowd came off of something that had really worn them out, and I think all of us watching felt the same way.
Yeah.
This next match, again, watching it, the crowd really was tired. They woke up by the end. And that's a little too bad because this is our main event. Samoa Joe defending the AEW World Championship against Swerve Strickland. I feel a little bad for Swerve, which is a weird thing to say for a guy who just became the world champion of a company, has everything going for him that he has. He's a victim of success because he came off of this amazing white-hot feud with Hangman that everybody just immediately was like, oh, wow, these two are going to be enemies forever. This is amazing. And so when he goes for the world title, it's good, but it's not that feud. So it's just, you sort of wish the championship could come at the end of a feud with that level.
Well,
And then added that on to this being on a card where he's got to follow 2 matches that kind of took out everything the crowd had.
You make do with what you got, and I know Swerve is the kind of person who can recover.
he 100%. And look, Joe is not the champion that he used to be. He's gotten a little bit older. He can still get around the ring fairly well, but things are he's moving just a little bit slower, and things just aren't as flush.
I mean, he's not where he was in his 20s.
No.
and some of the bumps he took back then, he's admitted. He's like, I think it was like that diving, was it a swanton he took onto
Yeah.
like the rails?
It was a senton, but
So,
yeah.
But honestly, I think he's worked it well into the just kind of the mighty glacier, I think is the type, just where he's not the fastest, but when he hits you, you're going to feel that.
Right.
And
it's more of Vader-esque than
Yeah.
And that's what we kind of had through this match, is Joe's just sort of tanking the offense, like he's taking everything Swerve gets and hitting back harder. And they work a nice story, even where he bangs his arm on the ring post, swinging at Swerve, and then Swerve spends the rest of the match targeting that arm. So that when Joe tries to put him in the coquina clutch, he can't hold it properly, and Swerve's able to get out.
Yeah.
So, like, again, good match all the way through.
It was a solid match. There's nothing wrong with this match. It was just the placement of the other two matches, that kind of did them in a little bit.
And to be clear, there are much...
I'm not sure it did them in so much as like the crowd knew this was more of a foregone conclusion than the other ones, I think. Because I knew, I think we all had the feeling going into this match, it's like, it's Swerve's time.
Oh, yeah. This was the one I was most confident in on the card. But, yeah, so, and indeed, it does end with... I had to watch it again to really kind of see the idea here, but they end up on the turnbuckle. Joe's trying to get him up for like a fireman's carry off of it. Swerve hits him and then does a jump fully over Joe's body to land on the other side.
That was sweet.
Gets behind him, power bombs him, and then hits him with a Swerve stomp for the pin.
Yeah. Right before Joe is struggling to get up, and he points at him like, "You."
Joe just is a king of those little moments.
He is.
He also got one last walk away spot, although this time somebody was ready for it.
Yeah.
Swerve just lands on his feet and then kicks him in the face as soon as he turns around.
That only works 172 times. That 173, not going for it.
Yeah, so I am so hyped for Swerve to be the champion.
I am so proud of him.
I love that he showed up and he got the Revolution debut. Like, they announced him, he came out, he signed his contract, and that was Tony Khan being like, I know where this guy's going. And yeah, he has seized that opportunity.
I didn't think it would happen. I really didn't think Swerve was going to be a world title holder. I was very excited when he came in. Could have never placed him in a world title contendership.
A lot of people doubted that, and he had a very good time
on Instagram,
collecting all those tweets and Instagram posts and sharing them again.
He posted, he started posting screen caps of everyone on like Twitter. You'd be like, he's never going to go anywhere in AEW.
Oh, I wouldn't have said that, but
people were saying stuff like that.
Hit row will take you back, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. People were saying so much stuff like that when he entered AEW, and he was just posting collages of them after he won.
Man.
Deservedly so.
Yeah, very much so.
Because it wasn't like the normal fan who was like, I don't know how well he'll do. These were people like going, he's done. If WWE didn't want him, he's worthless.
I mean, there will always be a certain, like, anybody who leaves WWE, anything that looks like adversity for them, it's, you should have stayed. They'll take you back. There's just... Nobody will ever acknowledge that, like, maybe some people just want to do something different. Like,
people don't realize they're actively acting out in real life the Mick Foley, Uncle Eric ECW angle.
Yeah.
Please forgive me, Uncle Eric.
Yeah.
All right, so I give that a 4. Again, solid match. Just starting with the Tony Storm match, that was just an amazing back half of the card. I can't imagine what that was like for the live crowd.
Yeah.
This is a show that will be remembered fondly forever. Because all of the highs were so high that it basically erases the lows from your mind.
It really did. It honestly did. I have since, and this is what I got to go back to. I was a little disappointed in Ospreay in the scrum. I wish he wouldn't have said hey, look, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not punching down anymore. Well,
that was the
how did he say it?
With people who are beneath me.
There you go. That's like, you're so good, man. Stop it.
I just don't watch those because I know if it's relevant later, they'll just replay the important part to me.
But honestly, the match.
See, that's the kind of thing that people are acting like Tony did.
Right. Yeah. See, now that's. But see, this is the thing about it. The card in itself overshadowed that in spite of Ospreay.
And what's interesting, I look back and I think of the other ones that are held up as sort of like gold standard of AEW. I think there's All Out 2021, which is where you had the debut of Danielson and Adam Cole, and this most recent Revolution where you had Sting's retirement. And both of those were great, but also like a lot of what made them iconic was, you had this debut of these two people have come over, or you have this guy who's a legend and retiring. This is the one that really top to bottom just succeeds as a card. There are
Look
no,
what we got.
Yeah, there are no surprise debuts. There's no shocking returns. There's no like outside thing. It really is just like here are I think it's 12 matches of just our roster doing amazing stuff.
Yeah. Mercedes is here. Say hi, Mercedes.
No.
All right, so we're running up on the edge of time, but I just kind of wanted to touch on one thing, which is that we just had an amazing AEW pay-per-view, and we're coming off of what I think is probably the best WrestleMania I've seen since I started watching wrestling again. Maybe up there just overall. Yeah. Isn't it awesome where American wrestling is right now?
Yes.
Just when AEW started up in 2019, I think people hoped this would improve things. This is pretty close to like the best case scenario of what could happen.
It's finally getting
It
there.
is such an interesting time to be a pro wrestling fan because, okay, number one, you want to talk about choices. You've got, now, look, I don't like New Japan. I used to like them back in the day. I don't like where they're going. I don't really watch it anymore. But people still like New Japan. You have that option. You have the, I don't think you have the ROH option, do you?
It's around.
There is a way.
If
Yeah.
you look for it, you can find
I'm hoping
it.
I'm hoping renegotiated TV deals give you more of an open way to watch them.
Yeah, so you don't have to just subscribe for one program.
Yeah.
TNA is coming back hard.
Yes.
So, I mean, big ups to them. Yep. You've got AEW, and we have a new era in WWE, and let's not forget about the developmental that they don't even want to call a developmental group anymore in NXT.
Yeah. Apparently NXT's ratings have gone up to like they're within like 100,000 of AEW. Like they're picking up eyes.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, and this is the thing is, for all the toxicity online, for all of the this versus that, I gotta believe the vast majority of wrestling fans are sane and rational people who are just like, it is awesome that more people are watching wrestling and that wrestling across the board is better. Whatever product you watch, it's better now than it was 5 years ago.
And let's be very clear about this. There have always been these, I hesitate to say toxic, but, spade a spade, right? It's these toxic wrestlers in the Fed that are at one point holding on to their gimmicks so tight that they can't let it go, and they're going to argue with the booker, or they got a problem with somebody in the back because he said
or someone in the back has a problem with them.
And that's always been there. That's not going away. So it's like, just because we hear about it now, we could hear about it like that. Back in the day, fast forward back, rewind 25, 30 years, we had to get on a website called Lords of Pain to get the insight, and it was very sketchy if it was real. And even before that,
the only thing you could accurately trust was people who sent in summaries of the tapings. That's how I would catch up on stuff I missed on TV.
And before that, you had to find it just through people that had inside information, like Dave Meltzer. Or
there's a lot that I hate about social media, but the accessibility it's given to people for just like wrestling all over the world, and for accurate information and terrible opinions are sort of the hand-in-hand thing. But
the only thing I'll say absolutely is if you see someone online or anywhere rooting for the actively rooting for the downfall of a company, they don't want good wrestling.
Yeah. No, they don't
want good
wrestling. It's what just about everybody, like MJF, I think, said it best in the, like, you wrote like a piece in December where he was just like, you cannot imagine how much better it is for everybody who's negotiating a contract right now.
Yeah.
That, like, again, you sign a contract to stay where you are, you're making more money than you would have because there's somewhere else you could have gone and they know it.
Exactly. We're creating competition now.
It's not quite the territories, but what's coming up in the age of interconnectedness and being able to see more things online from places you couldn't before is great.
People other feds are working together again.
Yes.
Which even WWE.
Yes.
Yeah, they're working with a a man out of Japan who has apparently said some interesting things about female wrestlers. I look forward to the Dark Side of the Ring documentary about this.
There is that.
But I mean, just in a more generic sense, I never thought I would have seen actively contracted TNA wrestlers in a WWE ring for like they did the past 2 Rumbles.
Right.
Like that would have been unthinkable.
And not just someone like Mickie James, who has been.
There was Jordan Grace.
Yeah, someone who's never wrestled as a signed WWE performer.
She's never been there. It's like, this is
and what a fantastic talent she is.
Yes,
really
she
is.
Just, I mean, this is going places, and hopefully it'll be better for everyone.
Yeah, and there's stuff I like and don't like about Triple H's style, just like any booker. But one thing I'll give him an immense credit for is he could have overcorrected coming out of the Vince era and tried to just like scramble to copy everything that AEW is doing.
Yeah.
He is instead, I think, working very hard to take the WWE style and refine it to its best form. And again, I love that. I prefer AEW. That is ultimately my style of wrestling. It's got its ups and downs, but I like anything can happen. You'll see the craziest thing. You'll get Ospreay and Danielson like possibly killing themselves to do this. WWE is a different kind of thing, but it is becoming the best version of itself. And I feel like, this last WrestleMania, we got to see what that looks like, and it has got me back to the point where the only reason I'm not watching WWE weekly is because that's like an additional 12 hours of television, and I just don't have that time,
man. And it'll burn you out on wrestling. It's you can't watch it, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. You just can't do it.
But it is in a good place, and man, it feels good to be excited to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, it's nice
to look forward to the next show and look forward to the next conversation about it. All right. Well, with that out, I think we kind of went all over pretty well. I'm going to give that card overall 4.5 out of 5 escaped goats. Keep your eyes open, everybody. They're bad news.
You can just cut it right there, right, Dave?
There's glass between us.
And we can't hear you anymore, because we don't have cans on today.
All right.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. You guys weren't wearing headphones. You didn't hear me just mute Robert.
Thank you. I just want to thank you.
Oh, man.
I was going to do the silently mouthing thing, but I don't think that really carries on a podcast.
Doesn't
No.
not.
It would just be awkward silence for our listeners. Speaking of awkward silence for our listeners, guys, if people want to reach out to you on social media or follow you online, where's a good place to do that at, Doggz?
You can get me on Instagram. I'm at David Two Dogs Hayes. That's really about it. I'm on Twitter or X or whatever the hell it is now. But I don't tweet or X or I don't. What are we doing now?
Well,
I don't know what you do.
If you want to support the lesser of two evils, you get Threads, which I have and never look at or open.
Yeah, I never.
But I want to read about
it.
stuff happening.
Like Mark Zuckerberg's Twitter. What's not to love?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's just IG for me.
You're no longer trying to become TikTok famous? You gave up on that?
I'm still on TikTok. It's David Two Dogs Hayes. You can get me on there. I'm arguing with a lot of people on wrestling.
Join the club.
It's all day long, all day strong. I will argue with you until the cows come home. You're going to block me, so it's
nice. Robert, if people want to argue with you about wrestling online, where's the best place for them to do that at?
Well, Doggz just made a compelling pitch for Instagram, so I might get back on there, but unfortunately I've forgotten my handle, so I can't plug that right now.
We're good at socials.
I'll remember that by next episode.
We really are. Chris, what about you? I know you're still on the dreaded X, formerly known as Twitter.
That's my favorite thing for anyone to recognize.
That's why I threw it out there. X, formerly known as Twitter.
That's how they have to. That's how they have to mention it in order for people to remember that.
You got like school child giddy at that joke.
So funny.
I was not expecting that level of excitement.
We've all just agreed that's the full name.
I am on X, formerly known as Twitter. I'm there to hear about the latest Cybertruck recalls. At Chris the OK.
Nice. And if you want to follow me online, you can do that on Instagram at DB Hensley. Robert, did you have anything else before we wrap up?
I'm just going to say, David Two Dogs Hayes, we have missed hearing your wonderful sign-off. Would you care to do it again for old time's sake?
I would love to. Thank you for, I would
Give
love
us that
to do
go home.
And thank you for having me. I've had a blast. This has been a lot of fun. It's old school memories. I love it.
Well, Doggz, let's take it back to the old school. If you want to keep up with Long Walk Productions, you can visit us online at longwalk.us to see more of our original work or hear past episodes that are no longer streaming. You can follow the YouTube links in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening, and if you enjoy this show or any of the shows on the Long Walk Podcast Network, please make sure to leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening on.
And for producer David Hensley, host Robert Brafford, and co-host Chris the Fashion Plate Barnes, this is David Two Dogs Hayes saying, if you got out of bed today, you got a job to go to, somebody that cares about you when you get home, folks, this match is over, and you just won via pinfall. Thank you very much for listening to This Is a Work.
Nostalgia Pop!
It's weird how we don't do the segment that my nickname comes from anymore.